Next up is Meredith Honig, and the title of her talk is When Solving for X Isn't the Solution, Moving from Tinkering to Transformation in School District Central Offices.
What if solving for X isn't the solution, and it's actually part of the problem? When I was in graduate school and the dinosaurs roamed and the internet was new, my roommate rushed through the door and she said, if our television could be anything, what would it be? And I looked over at that refrigerator-sized 3-channel, 20-antenna thing we all had back then, and I said, obviously, it would be lighter, because I was a grad student and we moved all the time. And she said, no, if it could be anything, what would it be? And I said, it would be lighter. But she was in an entirely different space. She worked for a startup called TiVo, which ushered in the first smart televisions. You in the back, that iPhone you're looking at instead of looking right at me? We didn't get that because Apple asked us what problems we were having with our phone and how to solve them. They got themselves into an entirely different space. They reinvented what a phone even is. They didn't ask, what's X? They asked, what's next? In our work, my team's work, with district central office leaders, superintendents, other leaders all across the organization, they say, you don't need to tell us that our central office needs to be redefined if we're really serious about advancing equitable teaching and learning for each and every student. And we say, okay, well, here's a blank page. What is the central office you would design if you could start from scratch? Set aside what you've long known and center historically marginalized students from the beginning. And what do you think they draw? They draw what you and I would draw. They draw what they know. They move boxes around on their organizational chart. They rename some offices. They build a lighter television. To draw on a metaphor that maybe is more common, they rearrange the deck chairs in their central office. Maybe they swap out the engine, but they're still driving the same ship. In our work, we call this tinkering, not transformation. When we tinker, we start with what we know, and we try to make it better, smarter, faster. When we transform, we bring a new imagination to what's possible with our systems, with our work, with every child's day. Transformation is very challenging. We don't see a lot of examples of it in practice, but it is happening, and we're finding glimmers of hope all across the country. For example, one of the districts we worked with understood that for decades, their approach to supervising school principals was not helping school principals lead better or realizing other results in terms of student achievement or student learning. And they didn't try to fix it. They shut it down. And they started from a different place. And they said, what is the experience we want school principals to have in order to get the schools we need? And they engaged in a fundamental shift from supervising principals to intensive support for principals, from X to next. The districts we work with have realized that they couldn't hire teachers of color faster than they left, and that their hiring system was just a revolving door, somewhat erratic, sticking people into open vacancies as they arose whenever they happened to arise. Our districts didn't try to solve that problem. They got themselves in a different space. They shut it down, essentially. And they said, what is the experience we want teachers to have? And the result was a fundamental shift from staffing to vacancies as they came up to building strong teacher learning teams, from X to next. In our research, we capture what leaders in these districts are doing, what they're coming up with, what they're inventing. And in our partnerships, we help districts use what we're learning as a spark to set their old central office ship on fire and to ignite a new imagination about what's possible in their system. we invite you to join us in this important, challenging work. If you're a policymaker or a funder, please notice ways that you inherited funding systems that likely reinforce for districts that what they should be doing is moving their deck chairs around. And what are ways you can reinvent your spaces to support reinvention in school district central offices. And if you're a student, if you're a researcher, if you're both, our research is only the tip of the iceberg. We encourage you to go into districts where leaders get it, that there's this fundamental mismatch between the systems they have and the systems we need, and study what happens when they try to do something about it. And all of you, I invite all of us to consider, how can we stop focusing solely on what's X or what's a better X, and instead create spaces where we can imagine what's next.